and I appreciate you guys having me on.
What? I appreciate you coming on, man. I hit you up, last minute. I sent you the call. I'm like, look, man, if you could make it, I'd really, really appreciate it. And you came through in the clutch, man. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, no doubt about it, man. I appreciate you guys having me on the Leach and Easy show, right? Did I get that right?
Yeah, you got it right.
Yeah, we invaded. Usually this is Joik's, Joik's on here typically from 11 to 1. And, Joik's birthday was this, I think, Tuesday or Wednesday. He went OTC. He went out of town, out of country. Left us. Yeah, as some may say.
Yeah, he was turning up, man. He didn't even give me an invite. You know what I'm saying? That's supposed to be my dog.
Damn.
But, I'm going to catch up with him soon. And, you got to excuse the noise in the background. It's crazy out here in New York City.
You're good, man. You're good, man. I appreciate you joining. Former Lions wide receiver. We obviously have some inexperience in the wide receiver room this year. I just got to ask, have you ever had an experience like that, the young wide receiving core, and what are your expectations?
Yeah, no doubt about it, man. I remember, being on the Minnesota Vikings, and we traded away Randy Moss. And, I remember thinking to myself, like, dang, we got to be out of our minds to trade away a superstar like Randy. And they were looking at me and a bunch of young guys saying, we need you to step up. You got to grow up fast in this league. I get it. Marvin Jones is gone. Kenny Galladay gone. They didn't bring Amendola back. Like, this is the golden opportunity. And you have a guy in Jared Goff that understands what it's like to play with young wideouts. So there's almost an advantage in that, But more than anything, though, the tight end position is going to have to be key. And, the Lions have one of the best tight ends in the business. I mean, that dude is seriously on his way to becoming an absolute superstar.
Hell yeah, I couldn't agree more with you, Nate. My question for you is, out of these young guys that we have in that receiver room, who are you looking at to kind of step up and be that number one guy for Goff?
It's crazy. I keep going back to the tight end position because T.J. Hockenson can turn into the leading receiver, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I've been on offenses where our tight end was the go-to guy. You look at the San Francisco 49ers. I know George Kittle's actually one of his boys. Like, if you're asking me who's the number one threat on that offense, it's George Kittle. You look at the Kansas City Chiefs, game in and game out, it might switch and it might rotate who's going to make the biggest play. But as far as consistency, who Patrick Mahomes leans on, it's Travis Kelce. So for me, Jared Goff, who loves throwing the tight ends, if you look at him in a lot of his playmaking that he did in Los Angeles, he was leaning on the tight ends that he had on that roster. So if I'm looking at fantasy, and this isn't any disrespect to my young wideouts in that wide receiver room, I'm going with T.J. Hockenson as a guy that's going to put up huge numbers.
That's what's up. Out of that wide receiver core, is there any one of them that you, I guess, familiarized with or that you would pick to be a leader out of the wide receiver group?
Not necessarily.
Yeah.
I think it's going to have to be a collective. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not one guy that's going to step up. I remember when the Minnesota Vikings told me straight up and down, like, Nate, we expect you to be our number one guy. And I was 22 at the time, and I was looking at my head coach saying, I don't even think I'm ready to take on that type of responsibility. And, to be honest, I wasn't. So for me, it's not about one individual stepping up. It's about the collection. And to be honest, the running backs are going to have to step up big. DeAndre Swift, I think, is just now scratching the surface on his career. And as much as we keep talking about the Lions not having a running game and not having a 1,000-yard running back and a 100-yard runner since 2013 when Reggie Bush, I get that. We're exercising those demons. But catching the ball out the backfield, screen plays, and dump-offs, that's going to be big in this offense as well.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. And I don't know if I'm kind of a minority in this, but I think this group that Goff kind of has here is very reminiscent of what he had in L.A. with, a lot of people didn't know of Cooper Kupp or Robert Woods before Goff was there, and I see a lot of that here in Detroit.
Yeah, inexperience sometimes breeds the best out of you. When you have a group of guys that are unfamiliar, I've been there time and time again. Even when I signed in Seattle, like, I was one of those guys that was part of this collection of athletes, and we had Matt Hasselbeck throwing us the rock, and nobody expected us to do anything. It's good when you fly under the radar. Listen, you don't have to be Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams. You don't have to be Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen. You don't have to be Allen Robinson and whoever's going to start. Maybe it's Jalen, Justin Fields with the Chicago Bears. You don't have to be a superstar name in order to make a superstar impact. This is a perfect position to be in, though. The mass exodus of pass catchers on any team, that leaves opportunity for guys that are left on the roster.
With that said, what are your expectations for the Lions this year, record-wise or even just improvement-wise, under the new leadership with Dan Campbell in the golf?
Record-wise is tough, man, because I was hoping that Aaron Rodgers didn't show up. I was hoping that lasted a little bit longer, because it would have gave everybody else in that division a little bit more confidence. But I mean, Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, I can't bet against them. I mean, they weren't a game away. They were a play away from the Super Bowl. Kirk Cousins, they extended him a couple of more years with the Vikings, and they got dogs on both sides of the ball. I'm not sitting here saying the Lions are going to bring up the rear. I just feel like a sleeping lion is still a lion you have to worry about. So you can allow everybody to sleep on the team. You just gotta get some wins early in the season and some wins that matter that you can take with you that are confidence builders going into the end of the year. Kirk Cousins has exercised some demons as well. He's been one of those guys who's won on the big stage, and now you don't say that with Kirk Cousins anymore. Well, he can't win at night. He can't win on the big stage. All right. Well, same thing with Jared Goff. Jared Goff took his team to the Super Bowl and got shipped away, disregarded. So he has a lot to prove within this offense. Dan Campbell and the coaching staff, I mean, people love to crack jokes on his press conferences. I mean, even we do it on the show. But every player I talk to on that roster, they love Dan Campbell. And that's a big sign, because not every coach that gets a job gets the validation of the team. Sometimes these coaches come in and you can read right through it. They don't have the temperature of the team. They don't feel the energy of the team. But everything that Dan Campbell says seems like the Lions parallel it.
And how do you think that equates, like, moving forward into the future? I think, obviously, a lot of us Lions fans don't expect much out of this season. Yeah, we're hopeful. We're always going to root for them. But when you hear things coming out of camp, and you got a lot of players, coaches, with Aaron Glenn in there, Deuce Staley, do you think that bodes well for the Lions going into free agency, where you can get maybe some more of the high-profile guys that want to come here to Detroit to play some football?
Yeah, for sure. Shout out to Aaron Glenn. We actually crossed paths in the league. He's one of the best coaches in the business, and he's passionate about the game, knows his stuff. But, yeah, it definitely does. And I think there was a shift that happened, around 2010, where Detroit Lions weren't looked at as the armpit of the NFL. And people weren't cracking jokes on the city. And when they came in to play us, they showed not only the team, but our city some respect. So this is a landing spot. When a team makes that leap from being irrelevant to being a contender, that's one thing. But when you go from being a contender to being one of the dominant squads, that's when it changes the complexion of where you want to go as far as a free agent. I mean, look at the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo Bills for so long was like, oh man, it's cold out in Buffalo. There's nothing to do in Buffalo. We know them for losing those 4 Super Bowls back in the 90s. But now, like, if you're a free agent, you're like, you know what? I would like to play in Buffalo because they got superstars. And we know year in and year out, they're going to have a chance to be in the playoffs. Stephon Diggs, I know it was a trade, but for a high-profile guy like that to land there after a trade and then have the season he had, that's big. All it takes is for one guy to be a premier player, a couple of guys to make a Pro Bowl, and for the Lions to make the playoffs. It really changes the perception of a landing spot for free agents.
You were one of those guys for us, man. You came here, embraced the city. You started Lions Blood clothing line. I was buying tees back in 2013. I appreciate you, man.
Nah, I appreciate the love, man. Listen, it was a joy to play for the Lions. I'm a Leo, so I thought it was only fitting for me to represent the way I did. And the city was going through it, man. There was a lot going on. The city actually went bankrupt when I was there. And, you would talk to guys on the team, and they didn't involve themselves. They weren't 10 toes down. They didn't show up at schools and go talk to kids and try to motivate the youth. They didn't experience the culture. And for anybody that knows anything about Michigan, man, it's culturally diverse. The people are good. The food is even better. And the nightlife is incredible when it's popping. So it's one of the best hidden gems if you don't know. So that's why I was always so vocal about it. And even now to this day, man, I'm going to represent Detroit till I die.
That's what's up, man.
Well, and I think that's why Nate holds a special place in a lot of Detroiters' hearts still. Speaking of a guy that grew up in Detroit, I mean, you were one of the first people that kind of embraced that culture and wanted to be here and did everything to kind of help rebuild this city. And I get people may not think you can do it through sports, but you just give it a different image, and you can do that. So speaking for me, Nate, you'll always have a spot here in Detroit regardless of where you're at.
I appreciate that, man. It was a fun 4 years. There was nothing like it. And, you know, some great stuff came from it. Matt Stafford, I know he's not on the team anymore, but, you know, he had a great run. And, you know, we're going to appreciate that years down the line. And even more recent news this weekend.
Yeah, I was getting ready to ask you.
The greatest Hall of Famers, one of the greatest players to ever play the game, is going into the Hall of Fame. So, you know, Detroit can hang their hat on that. Like, he's one of our guys. We got another one in the Hall.
Yeah, hell yeah. We got to go to break real quick. I appreciate you joining in. I did want to ask one last question, though, because you could spit a little bit. You know what I'm saying? I heard you dropping some bars, Nate. You got any
no
Detroit rappers you want to shout out, or any ones that you mess with?
Come on, man. First of all, you got to shout out to the legendary Trick. You know, shout out to Big Sean, who really transcended what, you know, an artist in Detroit can be.
For sure.
You know, T Grizzly, you know, keeps it all the way gully. But one of the greatest rappers ever is Royce the 5'9". No doubt about it in my mind. You know what I'm saying? Royce is my favorite rapper, period. He's lyrical. He's complex. You know, he gets busy, man. So, yeah, Detroit, man, definitely one of the best hip-hop states. You know what I'm saying? And I'm going to be dropping some bars soon. You might see me with a collaboration with the Detroit artists.
Bro, when I hear it, and I hear you like on the NFL Network or like I think it's CBS they have you on too sometimes, but I'm like, bro, this guy's like way too good just to be doing this like casually, bro. like, bro, this blows my mind.
You like, nah, like he needs to chill with all this, like,
bro. I'm like, whoa. Hey,
I'm gonna drop some stuff soon, though, man. Just do it for the culture because I love hip hop so much. So, you know, look forward to it. I'll premiere it on the show. I'll come back on.
Hey, man, I appreciate you joining us, man. And when that happens, for sure, hit me up. We'll definitely get together and get that going. We're going to go to break real quick. We'll finish up with the show. Nate, I'm going to hop back in your DMs and figure something else out, too. I want to get you back on the show sometime.
Definitely, man. Y'all be easy, all right?
All right, Nate. Sir. Appreciate you.
Welcome to the Call Sam Chopper Shop, where you can win a custom-built chopper while helping our veterans at the same time.
Watch as the Bad Pig Custom Team turns this bike into a one-of-a-kind classic chopper.
And when it's finished, we'll be donating the bike to Volunteers of America, Michigan to raffle off in support of our vets.
A great cause to give back to those who've given so much.
Watch for Call Sam Chopper Shop episodes on our social media channels and get your raffle ticket today at callsam.com/chopper shop.